Wink News begins with breaking news.
We're following major breaking news now at noon. A deputy-involved shooting along I-75 in Lee County.
Wink News was first on scene. We're working this very aggressively for you, and we have exclusive details.
We want to show you first a live look at I-75 and the exit ramp to Corkscrew Road off of the southbound side of the interstate. Florida Highway Patrol tells us the southbound exit ramp you see there will be closed for several hours. Witnesses say there was a high-speed chase around 9:30 this morning. And they tell us a deputy got in a fight with a suspect. Shots were fired. The deputy was taken to the hospital, but should be okay. We have complete team coverage now at noon.
And let's begin with Wink News reporter John Treeweiler, who is live on the scene. John, a witness spoke with you, saw a lot of action there.
Yeah, Corey and Therese, witnesses have been speaking with us, several of them as they leave this scene. This is the exit ramp to Corkscrew Road southbound from I-75. We can show you a look from above. This is a very large scene. It encompasses the entire portion of the exit ramp. As you can see, multiple Lee County Sheriff's Office entities are on scene processing this crime scene. We can show you some video, but what witnesses have been describing to us was a very dramatic start to their morning. It all started with some kind of a vehicle, some kind of a chase, cruising down I-75, what looked like reaching speeds of more than 100 miles an hour. Passing vehicles, they were concerned it was going to cause a crash or some type of dramatic event. When they got to the exit ramp at Corkscrew, they noticed that that vehicle was on the off-ramp as well as a Lee County Sheriff's deputy. They said that that person who was driving that car erratically was out of the vehicle on top of the deputy on the ground. Looked like that they were beating up on the deputy. Witnesses say they heard gunshots fired. Multiple witnesses said those shots did not appear to, at least initially, come from that Lee County deputy. But let's hear it in their words.
The police officer was trying to catch up with him. Cars were pulling to the side. And then when I got off the highway, I was stopped by the car, had pulled over, the door was open, and he was on top of the police officer. Basically, it looked like that he was beating him up. And then all I heard was some shots. It wasn't from the police officer, though.
Never seen this many cops in my life in one scene. Never.
So as you heard there, several deputies and law enforcement remain on scene. You're getting a live look here. Again, this is the southbound exit ramp from I-75 onto Corkscrew. The Lee County Sheriff's Office has brought in their mobile command center out here. They did just have their helicopter out here taking some pictures from above. So we do anticipate, like the Highway Patrol has said, they will be out here for several hours. Probably the majority of the day. We'll, of course, be on top of this throughout the day as well. We are live in Lee County right now. John Treeweiler, Wink News now.
Wink News begins with breaking news.
Witnesses describe chaos on the interstate. Multiple sources tell Wink News a driver shot and killed a man attacking a Lee County deputy. You're looking live off the top at 5 at the scene at the Corkscrew off-ramp, still closed down as investigators search for clues. Multiple sources tell Wink News this was the deputy involved, Deputy First Class Dean Bardez, a 12-year veteran of the Sheriff's Office. Those same sources say the suspect came up on Bardez while he was working on an accident on I-75 about 3 miles north of Corkscrew.
Sources say that suspect pulled a gun and the deputy chased him. Wink News was first on scene and has complete coverage you'll only see right here. Wink News reporters Andrew Scheinthal and Olivia Mancino listened to witnesses describe the dramatic scenes. Anchor Brittany McDonald was at Lee Memorial the moment the deputy involved was released.
You'll hear their exclusive eyewitness accounts in just a minute, but first, Wink News reporter Nicole Valdez is live in front of the Lee County Sheriff's Office. Nicole, what can you tell us about what happened this morning on 75?
Well, Chris, the Sheriff's Office did tell us the suspect in this case is dead, but officials inside this office say they're not releasing any more information today until they make contact with that suspect's family. However, Wink News has learned the deputy injured in this morning's incident is Deputy First Class, Dean Bardez. Now, according to multiple law enforcement sources, this all started after Bardez was working a separate accident on I-75 northbound near mile marker 126 this morning. The suspect approached the deputy and pulled out what he later told his supervisors was a gun. Now, that suspect fled, and this deputy took off after him. They both stopped and got out of their cars at the Corkscrew exit. That's when the suspect started beating the deputy right on the side of the road. Bardez screaming for help. Then a driver passing by stopped his car and told the suspect to stop several times. If not, he'd shoot. Now, when the suspect did not let up, this driver shot him 3 times. Now, our sources do tell us this driver does have a concealed carry permit, and Bardez was not shot by that driver. He's now recovering from his injuries of that fight earlier today. Deputies do tell me that press conference will not happen today as they continue to try to gather more details, but when that happens, we'll be the first to let you know. Live in Lee County, I'm Nicole Valdez. Week News now.
Let's take you live out to Interstate 75 right now. Traffic is still moving slowly around Corkscrew Road, but this is what it looked like earlier. Traffic barely moving this morning. Look at all of this when law enforcement first swarmed the scene. Wink News reporter Olivia Mancino spoke exclusively to several people who watched the scene unfold. She joins us live now from where it all happened. Olivia, what'd you hear?
Well, Chris, this is such a populated area. It definitely created quite the spectacle. Now, we spoke to people living in these condos facing this very exit. They told us they saw everything go down up close and personal. Gabe Plaza was sleeping when he says he heard gunshots.
I heard like 2 to 4 gunshots when I was sleeping. I look out my balcony, and then I see all the cops just right there.
He says he's never seen anything like this near his home. Dozens of cops not just blocking the Corkscrew exit, but also hovering over someone who he says looks seriously injured or worse.
And I see probably about 10 of them around one body and resuscitating the body where the victim that was shot by the officer was down there. Probably about 10-15 minutes they were going at it.
Witnesses say this all stemmed from a high-speed chase, and it landed the suspect in a stretcher. You can see that here in photos Wink received exclusively.
And they put the body in there and then took him away.
Plaza says it was shocking to see this unfold so close to his home.
That was the scary part there.
Now, to clarify, we have heard from multiple sources that it was a passerby with a concealed carry that fired those shots. Now, our sources confirm that that man warned the suspect multiple times to stop attacking the deputy or he would shoot. We're live in Lee County. Olivia Mancino, Wink News now.
Olivia, thank you. Wink News with complete team coverage at 5. We had the first crews on scene this morning capturing exactly what happened. This is video of the Sheriff's Office helicopter landing right on the Corkscrew exit. Wink News reporter Andrew Scheinthal has been there all day. Andrew, what did you see when you first got there?
Well, Amanda, you mentioned that helicopter that landed on the road. This really seemed like a scene out of a movie. It was complete chaos. In 3 years of reporting here in Southwest Florida, I have never seen anything like this. Deputies were scrambling. They were running around. Really, there was a big sense that people didn't really know what was going on because they were scared as to what they heard happened. A helicopter landing in the middle of the street, an exit ramp blocked off, a deputy at the hospital, and the sheriff's office saying a suspect dead. Chaos rung out in South Lee County Monday morning as witnesses described what they saw and heard during their morning commute.
Then I heard 3 shots.
And I heard like 3 shots.
Witness after witness telling Wink News multiple gunshots, then silence after they say a high-speed chase ended on the Corkscrew Road exit ramp.
When I was on the highway before I got off on the exit, there was a high-speed pursuit on the left shoulder.
I got off the interstate. I seen the guy who speeded past me. His door was open. And as I rode up, he was sitting on top of the police officer.
Basically, it looked like he was beating him up. And then all I heard was some shots.
Soon after, witnesses tell Wink News dozens of deputies and state troopers rolled up to the scene. The exit ramp closed, and the Wink News drone catching traffic backed up for miles. Evidence markers staking their claim in the street as investigators try to piece together exactly what happened.
And I'm hoping the officer's okay.
And of course, now we know that deputy is okay, but there were dozens of deputies who were coming here, a lot of them scared. In fact, I even spoke with deputies who said they were not called to come to the scene, but they wanted to come here because they did not know exactly what happened, and they wanted to make sure that one of their own was okay. Live in Lee County, Andrew Scheinthal, Wink News now.
All right, Andrew, he is okay. Wink News was there as Deputy Dean Bardez walked out of the hospital this afternoon. Wink News anchor Brittany McDonald is live there now, and you visited him at home, Brittany.
Yeah, I stopped by his home where he's been since being released from the hospital here earlier today. He didn't want to speak to us, but he is doing okay with injuries, but not life-threatening. I noticed a bandage or two as he left the hospital earlier today, and he had a nice show of support here from the Lee County Sheriff's Office just after it happened. Take a look at this cell phone video that I shot as he was being released from the hospital. It's just outside the emergency room. He was greeted by a few fellow deputies, shaking hands and hugging them with what appeared to be a bandage on his arm. But he was walking and talking and drove off with what appeared to be his wife and deputies just behind. This after we're told he took a severe beating from the suspect and was yelling out for help on I-75. Right after it happened, deputies flooded the outside of the ER this morning, waiting on his condition. Once they knew he was okay, just after about 11 o'clock, they slowly started trickling out, but a few stayed behind just to make sure that he got into his car and got home safely. And like I mentioned, I saw him, I spoke to him a little bit, and he seems to be doing okay. We'll have another update for you coming up at 6 o'clock. For now, live in Fort Myers, Brittany McDonald, Wink News Now.
Now on the Wink News Night Beat.
He threw the officer to the ground so violently. I mean, it was awful. And they would just started punching him and hitting and hitting and hitting.
A deputy fighting for his life.
I thought he was going to kill him.
Until a mysterious armed man shoots his attacker.
I heard 3 shots. The man on top that was sitting down on top of the police officer fell to his side.
Investigators combed the area near the corkscrew exit for clues and kept the ramp closed for nearly 9 hours.
When I was on the highway before I got off on the exit, there was a high-speed pursuit on the left shoulder.
New video of crews towing 3 vehicles, including that speeding car and a Lee County cruiser, and new questions about stepping in to help.
There are a lot of different questions that need to be asked before you can really answer whether or not he's going to be liable for something.
Tonight Beat now bringing you complete team coverage of every angle of this story.
Tonight Beat's Kim Powell with new questions about the armed man who some say saved that deputy's life.
Well, let's start tonight with Tonight Beat's Adam Wright, live where all of this unfolded. Adam, that ramp is back open tonight, right?
Yeah, that's right, Chris. The ramp here opened back up about 4 hours ago. It's all quiet out here right now, much different than the chaotic scene here earlier today. Traffic to Corkscrew Road started moving freely just after 7 o'clock tonight, after deputies shut down the southbound exit ramp for several hours. A massive scene unfolded shortly after 10 a.m.
I've never witnessed anything like that. It was awful.
Multiple sources tell Wink News Lee County Sheriff's Deputy First Class Dean Bardez was working an accident scene on I-75 near Alico Road when a man with a gun approached him, then took off.
There was a high-speed pursuit on the left shoulder. When I got off on the highway onto this on-ramp, off-ramp, there was a man on top of another man.
Witnesses tell Wink News the suspect started beating Deputy Bardez in the middle of the off-ramp.
He threw the officer to the ground so violently. I mean, it was awful. And they would just started punching him and hitting and hitting and hitting. I thought he was going to kill him.
Then, sources tell Wink News a passerby with a concealed weapon license got out of his car and shot the suspect 3 times after repeatedly telling him to get off the deputy.
I heard like 2 to 4 gunshots when I was sleeping. I look out my balcony, and then I see all the cops just right there.
The suspect died. Deputy Bardez was taken to the hospital. Tow trucks later left the scene with the deputy's cruiser and 2 other cars. And Deputy Bardez is out of the hospital recovering tonight. The sheriff's office has not released the name of his attacker yet, and a lot of other questions remain unanswered, specifically what led to this confrontation between these 2 men. Of course, we'll continue to dig for these answers and bring them to you as soon as we get them. For now, we're live on the Night Beat. Adam Wright, Wink News Now.
All right, Adam, thank you. Sources say the man shot the suspect 3 times, and all new tonight, one expert says that could come into play.
You're going to look at that as a factor. Did you need to shoot 3 times? But you don't second guess, and the 20/20 hindsight is easy.
Tonight Beat's Kim Powell picking up our team coverage with that angle of the story. Kim.
Well, right now we have a lot of unanswered questions about what unfolded out here, but experts tell me that if this bystander truly believes that there was imminent danger, then his actions are justifiable. Hero. That's what many people are calling the driver who sources say shot and killed a man attacking a deputy.
We don't know everything that happened yet, but I mean, if you're defending a police officer, you know, obviously people would think you're a hero.
Alex Dean is a firearms instructor. He says the law permits you to use deadly force to prevent a forcible felony. In this situation, sources say the suspect was beating the deputy, and the deputy was crying out for help.
Every single circumstance is going to be different. There's no blanket rule where you can say, hey, do this in this circumstance and do that in this circumstance. It just doesn't work that way.
A criminal justice professor at FGCU says there's a lot of questions that need answers before we know if the shooter can be held liable.
What is the mental state of the person involved? What's the mental state of the person who actually did the shooting? What was the condition of the officer at the time?
Another factor that needs to be looked at, why did he fire 3 times?
When you're in the midst of a situation, what is reasonable under the circumstances? And we don't know. Did one shot stop the man from harming the officer? Maybe not. Did the second shot stop him? Maybe not.
You don't fire at somebody who surrendered. You don't fire at somebody who's fleeing.
And we still don't know who the bystander is just yet, but of course you can count on Wink News to update you on any new developments as we get them. Live on the Night Beat, I'm Kim Powell, Wink News. Now,
Kim, thank you. Our team of reporters brought you live coverage all day today, even when we weren't on the air, posting video and new information on Facebook the minute it broke. Wink News got to this scene 20 minutes before any other station in Southwest Florida. Count on Wink News to continue to aggressively follow the story. And remember, again, when we're not on the air, we're constantly posting updates online.